experiencing the castes in a human being. Lord Krishna said in the Bhagavad Gita, I have created 4 types of castes. This can be a subject of experience for any human being in his own self. As Krishna said, my creation is divided into 4 parts, and these 4 parts are divided according to their quality and karma, or activity. The 4 castes are Brahmana, Brahmin as priest, the warrior caste, the merchant caste, and the laborer caste. The 4 bodies can be viewed along the same lines. The great causal body is the Brahmin caste, the causal body is the warrior caste, the subtle body is of the merchant caste, and the gross physical body is of the laborer caste. In this way, Param Atman, the Supreme Self, was dispersed into these parts within himself. The gross physical body is heavy and is an instrument used for service and labor, and therefore it is the laborer caste. Sitting on a mattress in the gross physical body, taking a balance in hand, and managing the business of the whole world is the intellect, the buddhi, who compares things as good and bad, big and small, and employs the laborer, that is the gross physical body, as a servant to get things done as he likes, because he is the master. For this reason, the subtle body is the merchant caste. Now look at the brave actions of the causal body. The causal body establishes his kingdom by swallowing up the entire wealth in the form of the world that was accumulated on the strength of the capital of desires, imagination, dreams, and doubts. It also swallows up the servants in the form of the physical gross and subtle bodies. This causality, which is one of the total destruction, is the attitude of a warrior, and therefore the state of the causal body is that of the warrior caste. Now, what remains is only the great causal body, the Brahmin caste, or priest caste. In this body, there is a complete neglect of all the other 3 bodies. It has nothing to do with the gross physical body, which puts in hard labor and dies. Neither does the great causal body have anything to do with the merchant in the form of intellect, who trades in ideas and dreams, and spreads the vast panorama of the world. Nor does it have anything to do with the warrior in the form of the causal body, who sits quietly as if nothing has happened after killing both the subtle and gross physical bodies. They all may do nothing, or let the gross physical body groan under hard labor, and let the subtle body do business with the world, while letting the causal body wage war against these 2. For what has the great causal body to do with any of these? There is a saying, reflect on the self, Rama, and let the world fight. Knowing this very well, the great causal body went on announcing the Vedic words, Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman, and sat quietly on its own ground, reaching the high stage of Brahmanhood. This Brahmin caste is very orthodox about the touch of another caste and cannot tolerate the touch of another body. The other bodies hold the great causal body in high esteem and smear their heads with the dust of his feet. From the point of view of Vijnana, supreme knowledge or final reality, even if this great causal body becomes polluted by being in contact with the other bodies, it is still the most sacred and highest in all the 3 worlds of the waking, deep sleep, and ignorance. About the three worlds. The gross physical body is the material world, or Swarga Loka. The subtle body is the world of birth and death, Ritu Loka. And the causal body is the netherworld, or Patala Loka. The great causal body is Brahman. These bodies are divided according to their qualities, and these worlds are known by these qualities. The gross physical body is the Swarga Loka and sits on top of or covers the other worlds. All sorts of external enjoyments and activities are experienced in this world. The wonderful gardens and the beautiful forests are created for this world only. And the presiding deity here is Brahma Deva, the creator, whose main quality is activity, or Rajaguna. The world below this is the world of death and birth, called Mritu Loka. In this Loka, there is a big factory of birth and death, where the qualities of appearing and disappearing are continuously being processed. This continuous process is nothing but the rising, the birth, and the setting, the death, of mental modifications. In this way, one is born many times and dies many times during the same day. Everyone should keep for himself an account of his births and rebirths. Every idea produces a visible appearance, and when that idea sets, the appearance also sets, or dies. In this way, when all ideas stop, it is kalpanta, the final dissolution of concepts. This is experienced continuously in the subtle body. The scriptural writers have accepted the principle of creation and appearance. They stated that as soon as an idea arises, the world arises, and when the idea sets, the world sets. Unless the subtle body in the form of the Ritu Loka is permanently destroyed and buried, hundreds of yugas are sure to rise and set. Therefore, one should die such a death that eliminates the further necessity of being born at all, and live in one's true nature in such a way that there is no fear of any further experience of dying. Let this be so. For whatever has to happen will happen. But until then, it is certain that this Ritu Loka keeps its mouth wide open for entry. The abode of the subtle body is the inner mind, which is known as the Antakarana, or consciousness. The presiding deity here is Vishnu, and he nourishes the world. This seed of consciousness, or inner mind, is the spark or genesis of subtle manifestation arising out of formless existence. It is characterized by the motion of the attributes arising out of the attributeless consciousness. One could say it is the source of the mind, or one's innermost mind, or innermost heart. It is the origin of the assertion of objectivity. It is the mind at its most subtle. The inner mind of all is the same, while their conditioned minds are different. The world below that knowledge of the inner mind is Patala Loka, the netherworld, which is the causal body in the form of forgetfulness. In the Patala Loka, there is the pitch darkness of ignorance. The destroyer, Rudra, who is of the quality of ignorance, and Tamaguna is the presiding deity here. Above these three is the great causal body, which is the highest body, and is therefore higher than these three worlds. The presiding deity here is pure knowledge. That knowledge rules here and is the God of all gods. From this God all the worlds are produced, and this God is called the Lord of the three worlds. The knower of Brahman is the guru of all the castes, and therefore is placed most highly among them. This gives one the status of master. This knower of Brahman does not allow even the shadow of ignorance to fall on him. What's more is that he refuses to even become polluted by the mind and intellect. So give up the idea that he will ever embrace the corpse of the gross physical body. This form of pure consciousness or universal cosmic consciousness does not allow even a single entrant into his great causal body. Therefore, it should be understood that none of these bodies or castes, the warrior causal body, the merchant subtle body, the laborer gross body, can ever enter into pure consciousness. This means that the gross physical and subtle bodies can never enter the great causal body. These bodies, as mirrored by the castes, cannot do anything without the help of this primal knowledge, I am. All of their good and bad actions or works only go on the support and strength of this knower of Brahman. At this time, the knower of Brahman comes out of his dwelling and accomplishes the work of these three castes. As soon as the work is done, he cleans himself of any traces of them right in front of their doorstep, and only then enters back into his own abode.